Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of Punchline with myself here, Corey Schonhorst, and your boy, my boy, everybody's boy, Losey. So we had a couple. I still sound like this. I think Losey's kicked it, but you may have noticed that we had a repeat on last week. Everybody in the St. Louis area, from my understanding, has been under the weather for more or less sometime in the last month. So good to be back in the studio. Losey, how are you feeling?
If I could sell buckets full of phlegm, I'd have been rich for
yummy.
a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
That's a good thought, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm
and
feeling.
he's not lying.
Wow. You're such a loser. But I feel great. I'm back at it. I got hit last weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and it wasn't pretty. So had to stay. I was so bad that I even stayed home from work, which doesn't happen. But, you know, there was a time 30 years ago where if you didn't go to work sick or if you didn't just gut through it, you were considered like a piece of garbage. Now, if you show up and sneeze somewhere, you are garbage.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell happened here, people? Let's toughen up a bit.
I remember at the beginning of the pandemic, I was at my local corner store. Actually, we'll shout them out because they're nice people up there at Huck's and here in Kirkwood, Missouri. And I sneezed, and the dude behind the counter and like the two people that were in the store jumped back as if I had pulled a weapon out. It was, and I was like, I felt so bad, and I was like, oh! And everybody did their best to feed into that propaganda at the time too. I remember Netflix released Outbreak, and everybody's like, "This, we're living in it. We're living it now."
My absolute favorite part of COVID was when they told us we had to start knuckle punching, which now I think everybody does just as a cool thing. But then they told us that we had to start sneezing in our sleeve.
Vampire.
And then after about 2 months after that, they said we weren't allowed to knuckle punch anymore, so we had to elbow touch. So they changed us from sneezing in our hand to shaking hands to knuckle punching to sneezing in our elbow and then touching elbows at one point in time. We were actually greeting each other, touching elbows, people.
Yeah,
like
we're living in 2000.
The stuff that we actually did because the government told us to was embarrassing.
So now here's the new thing that they're saying is now you sneeze into your friends' mouths and you and you lay on your elbows. Make sure you wash your elbows when you leave the bathroom. Sneeze into your buddy's face. I forgot the Missouri Valley Conference and the
when does
March
that start?
Madness and stuff.
Is that coming up?
It started Thursday. It goes till Sunday.
Yeah, but not March Madness.
Who wants to take us to the game?
March Madness starts the second week in March, right?
Yeah.
Hey, no. Next week is a lot of the conference games, like the SEC, ACC. So then I think it's like the last week of March.
And then
March.
It's only 3
March
weeks.
Madness starts.
Yes, March.
It's only 3 weeks, right? Like they do 64, 32, 16, 8, then the Final Four.
Correct.
And then they got the championship game
Correct.
on Monday.
And let's say that I filled out 36 brackets in my lifetime. Almost inevitably, the person who wins the brackets that I've been involved in is always somebody's wife or girlfriend that picks based on their favorite mascots.
Yep.
Or team colors. And they're like, I like green and yellow.
I have never even come close on those things.
Oregon being a sleeper was because of they were like, I love their uniforms.
Yeah.
What?
That's good. It's awesome. 3 weeks. I'll be over at Top Shooters that first Friday, and I'm telling you right now, in Columbia, Illinois, our boy Tim Wheeler and Nikki Wheeler. I always forget. She's like, I own the place too.
Yeah.
Like, dang it, I'm sorry.
Nikki
Tim
holds it together.
Yeah, and we all know that it's really Nikki more than it is Tim too. Let's be real. But awesome people, two of my very, very good friends. Mary runs the place, so it'll just be jam packed that Thursday and Friday. So I was
within the March Madness, double madness.
Yeah, number one vasectomy day.
Is it?
It is.
Is it really?
Number one day to get vasectomies.
Because you lose a bet?
Because you stay at home all day. Because you get the vasectomy and you stay at home all day and watch the games.
Huh. That's been a topic of conversation in my life.
I did get one of those. Thank you.
You
was
got
necessary. One? Yeah, I got one.
I've been debating.
If you had 2 kids and then had twins and they were all accidents, you would do it too.
I've had 2 kids already. I don't want twins. That's
Yeah,
why
you
I'm
do not
debating.
want-
That's why I'm debating.
I love my twins very much, but I'll tell you right now, you have not parented unless you have parented twins.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that my mom, I'm not sure if she's listening back in Moose Jaw or not, but I used to tell her, she's like, "What are you doing tonight?" We were on the phone. I'm like, "Oh, I'm babysitting." She's like, "Read." It's parenting.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
Your
It's
children.
not. You're not babysitting anymore. You're not getting paid to do this.
Right.
This is called parenting.
That's a lesson we all learn growing up as young fathers. Because you were what? How old were you when Connor was?
26.
Oh, so you were still older than me. I went from adolescence to fatherhood.
No.
And it was a long.
Well, I was a virgin until I was 19, so I couldn't do that.
A burden or a virgin?
Virgin.
Both.
That's a burden.
I was a virgin and a virgin until I
It
was
was a
19.
burden also.
and then the dam absolutely broke open.
Right. It's like, I was like, I don't know. It's been too long. So let's see what it's like with 17 children. I was 20 when my eldest son was born. So, like, I wasn't even drinking.
How old are you?
31.
31, no kids.
No kids.
That you know of.
Yes, hopefully. Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, that's the key.
Damn, that kid looks really familiar.
That's the real key to wealth. I've talked to. I have some. We
Seriously.
have like a group text of buds that I've had since we were children, and we talked about guys trips and stuff at different times, and we've got like 3 or 4 dudes in there that don't have families and stuff, and they're always like, "Let's go to Jamaica for a week," and we're like, "What are you on, bro? Like none of us can just drop 5 G's and be gone for 6 days
Right.
when our kids have sports and all this other stuff." And by the way, every time I buy myself anything, including like a pair of slacks from Target, I feel guilty because I'm like, my son's gonna need something soon. I have jeans. I'm not kidding. I have jeans and T-shirts that are now going on 3 decades because I've had them since. I mean, well, I guess better part 2 decades. But I've had jeans and T-shirts for upwards of 20 years. Is that?
I don't
I
think
put
that's
myself
bad.
out there. The quiet.
I
I
think
feel
so.
like like I'm in a room full of fashion-forward men doing something.
I do not have jeans that I wore 20 years ago.
I mean, 4 years
just
ago.
more than anything because I'm
Size differential?
60 pounds heavier than I was 20 years ago. So I don't have the same body type as I had back then.
I fluctuate. I'm like, my buddies used to call me the Oprah of the group because I'll
Damn.
drop and I'll go 10 pounds differential in 2 months.
Oprah of the group.
Yeah. Well, you've seen me eat.
25
You look
year
like
guy.
Oprah.
Yeah, I feel like Oprah a lot of times.
You can help people.
I can. Speaking of that, guys, if you want to look under your chairs,
I'm about to say, is there a car key?
you get a car. You get a car. They're Hot Wheels, but it's everybody's getting one. They're 99 cents at Walgreens now.
So what are we going to talk about today, boys?
I don't even know. No, I'm just kidding. I will. The biggest hot topic.
I literally don't know. They
I
just
couldn't-
throw them. They don't tell me anything until we get.
That's
until
not
we
true.
get
I
on
give
the
you
air.
24 hours typically.
Nice.
We're gonna get better at that, folks. I promise.
No, we won't.
No.
We're looking
the hot
at-
take-
This is who we are.
the fresh hot take's the best take.
Yes.
That's part of the excitement.
Yes, sir.
But we want to talk about for sure because I Googled this earlier and it brings up an interesting fact that I'd love to have a roundtable before this sometime in the spring of some like area experts and some toughies. And we've already talked, Cam has said a couple times like, let me come on there. I got your back and we'll do this stuff. But I wanted to get our buddy Mike Wood, his opinion, some boxing opinions, and maybe some of our buddies on here and talk a roundtable about this upcoming fight because with boxing in the state that it's in now, we're finally getting some good heavyweight matches again. The golden era of boxing for a lot of people was like the early 90s, late 80s. And now there's a resurgence in heavyweights, and this big fight coming up with Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. Is it Jake or the other one?
No, it's Jake Paul.
Yeah, Jake Paul is going to be insanity as far as viewership. Take it or leave it. I like Mike Tyson to the point where my thought process on this, if Mike Tyson wins, we're all going to be celebrating because this guy got what he's coming. I mean, this is one of the most arrogant people I've ever seen. But for all of his arrogance, I give him a lot of credit and humbled myself into the part where you don't have to like to respect, but you do have to respect to like. And what I mean by that is I've learned that sometimes I can appreciate someone's wherewithal or their ability to do something without being like, oh, yeah, I'm a big fan. So I respect this dude for this fact. He knows how to make the bag. He's bringing home money. He's one of the best promoters and any of this stuff, but I think we all want to see him get trounced by Tyson because how devastating would it be to see Tyson get beat? I mean,
I don't think it'd be devastating to see Tyson get beat. We've seen it before.
by respectable boxers.
Listen. First off, I think this
56.
guy is a respectable boxer. Like he's fought at some
Paul?
people. Yeah, he's not just some slug that just jumped out off the street. Like this guy has been he's been training, and like
it does take
now
some tenacity.
He's not fighting Evander Holyfield in his prime by any stretch of the imagination, but he's getting in there with some guys that can slug and can hit. But for me, I just kind of put all the nonsense and the judgment to the side. I just love stupid events like this that really mean nothing. Like this is the biggest waste of time, similar to our show. But it's a huge fight that has no meaning except you're bringing a guy back from the past that's absolutely iconic. And like you said, a guy that has somehow made a way for himself in the wide world of boxing and promotions and doing really well at it. So he's a great entertainer. He's a great promoter, and I love it. I'm going to be somewhere watching it. I'll probably, I would imagine Tim will have it over at Top Shooters, or I'll be at my house having a party or something. But I'm down. Like, it's worth $75 or $100 or whatever they're going to charge for it. It's worth the anticipation, and then to see what happens and not unveil. Mm-hmm. And that's what was great when you talk about the golden age of boxing, and what Don King did is he made everything about something. And even if it didn't really mean much, they did a really piss poor job of having the good fighters fight each other back in the day. They did not do that, but they still managed to have a huge hype when it came to promotions and when it came to watching boxing. So I love that they're figuring it out, and I love pay-per-view stuff, so I'm down.
I saved this for today because of this topic, and I had forgotten that it existed. But there's a story that goes behind this. So I'll post this on our page. There's a picture of me and Don King and Devin Alexander back when I used to work at KFNS as a young man.
Oh, was that his last fight here?
End of the show, yeah.
I was at that fight. That was a good fight.
I was at that fight.
That was a great fight.
So that
was awesome.
My friend tells me, so Don King was on our show, I think no less than 3 times, and never called me Corey. Always called me Cody, Caleb, Courtney, everything but Corey. And he'd be like, only in America. He's eating Burger King burgers at like 8 a.m. in the morning because Burger King would always throw things at him for stuff. And so I get these tickets, and back then, our buddy Mike Wood, the reason I know him is because we used to box out of the same gym, and I never was pro or anything like that. I wasn't even really that good, to be honest with you, but I just did it because I used to think I was tough until I did it, and then I realized I wasn't. So, but we would get on there, and so I go down to whatever it was called at the time, Chaffetz or Enterprise, I think.
Well, those are two different
Two
places.
different
Which
locations.
one are you thinking?
Where the Blues play.
That's Enterprise. Chaffetz is where the Slew plays.
What did it used to be?
We
just talked about this the other day.
It was Savis, then Scott Trade.
Yeah, Scott Trade.
I think it was
probably Scott Trade.
Yeah, and
Scott Trade was the longest time. I think they ran it from '99 to
until they went out of business.
Yeah.
And so I go down to the will call, and I'm like, yeah, I've got some tickets for, and I say my name, and the lady looks in this little box, and she's like, oh, I don't see anything there. And then there's all these people in line, and I'm this little guy, and I like, Don King left them for me. And she's like, hold on a second. She goes in the back and comes back out and hands me this big fat envelope with tickets and passes. And then I'm in the seats
Don King
with Devin Alexander's sisters and family. And I'm chatting it up with them, and I'm like, oh, man, these girls kind of cute, and this is fun, and blah, blah. And then they're like, oh, we're Devin's sisters. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I got real quiet and stopped talking to them because I'm like, I don't want to say anything here. My buddy texts me and goes, I just saw you on HBO. And I'm like all excited because I'm like, oh, cool. I was on HBO. How did I look? And he goes, confused. And I was like,
like you don't belong?
Yeah. Like what is it? They're like showing like, here's Evander Holyfield, Michael Buffer, all these people. And then like, here I am like waving at the camera like a little goober. Yeah. But it was a good time. So I'm excited to see these fights. I'll definitely be watching also. Joe, what's your take on what are your views on the outcome? Or
I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of the Jake Paul fighting all these older guys, but I also look at it like if you're a true boxing fan and you love boxing, you can't be upset with it because there's been plenty of opportunities for these big fights to happen, but they end up happening 4 years late over a little bit of money and the promoters not actually getting these fights to actually happen. So if you're upset that somebody from the outside of the boxing world is drawing eyes to boxing, then do something about it, boxing. If you want better fights and real fights,
do something
about it. That's how I feel about it. Jake Paul is taking advantage of an opportunity that boxing couldn't pick up and run with. So
And
I
boxing
love
been
it.
screwing it up. I just mentioned that. And guess who came in and showed them how to do it? UFC and Dana White.
Exactly.
If guys don't fight who they tell them they have to, they lose their belts. Like it's a no joke. Like
But
the UFC's come in and done it right.
I can see also the boxers saying that they don't want that because there was a situation where they weren't making as much money. They were out there 15 rounds and not getting paid.
Yeah.
Well,
And
is
it's
there a difference in MMA fights? Because this is a stat
Well,
I
Dana
don't know.
White is the one who's in charge of everything. He tells you who to fight.
No, I mean
he tells you how much you get
how many
paid.
fights you get a year, right? Because boxers oftentimes, especially back then when you're talking about these big heavyweights, it would be like 16 months to 2 years before you were fighting once a year basically, right? So MMA fights,
You're fighting two, three
MMA
times a year.
fights is UFC is a business,
Yeah.
so they
Right.
work. They get paid $2 million a year, or whatever it is. That's their salary, and then they might get bonus for fighting fights
But
or
they have
doing
a
that
couple
kind of stuff.
fights
But
a
they
year or something, right?
Yeah, well, they, at
or
least
three?
one.
Yeah.
But they have to fight if they're told. Where back in the day, the WBO or whatever it was, they were just sanctioned places.
yeah.
Everybody was on their own. They didn't have to do anything if they didn't want to. There was no forcing governmental type place like a Dana White who's like, okay, you're either going to fight or I'm going to take your belt.
I'm going to take my two best fighters and I'm going to make them fight. In
Yeah.
boxing, they're not going to do that because
They didn't have anybody
that's
to
why
do it. It wasn't
everybody
set
knew.
up the same.
Exactly.
Think about too, like as a spectator. And real quick before we really dive into this, because this is a fun conversation right now and we're going good. What's our text line? Because we always forget to mention.
Oh, yes.
Your job, Joe, is to remind all of us, and I'm going to remind you, and Rita will remind me, and we'll all remind each other because we always forget this. What's our text
I'll write
line?
it down for you guys too. 855-282-8255. Yes, bring in your texts. You guys want to take calls as well? 1-855-282-8255.
Yeah, weigh in on this topic, pun intended on the weigh in. So we, but with boxing too, you know, as a non-fan or spectator, people still know like the top 3 names in boxing or something, right? They'll know like they've heard of Mike Tyson, oftentimes, whether they're a fan or not. Oftentimes, people knew who Don King was because they're just all over the place. But with MMA, when it was first like really getting popular, the old MMA with what's the karate guy that really got it going? Not Kenny.
You're talking about
Royce Gracie?
Gracie. Gracie. Right? And so like
was
there
thinking-
used to be
I was thinking
K1.
Chuck
He's more
Liddell.
he's more of jiu-jitsu than karate.
Yeah, 'cause there was a
Exactly, yeah.
K1, right? And that's what formed
Yes,
MMA.
that's
And then
right.
when MMA first became big, like you guys were saying, there was the Chuck Liddells and these other guys that would be out here.
there was no weight classes when it first started
Right.
either.
Yeah, no, it was a
So you have
tournament.
like Bo Kemp versus like a
Yeah.
dude like
It
Bruce
started
Lee
as a
size.
tournament, and then Dana White went and got $2 million and got a loan from his shark friends
genius.
in Vegas and took this thing on and made it a sanctioned deal
was like
and
blood
made
sport.
it a business. And
like the real life blood sport.
And and these guys are signing contracts to be inside of the UFC. So it's not just like there's the WBO and they're a champ. Like these guys were working for him and had to do what he said. And
Kind of like WWE.
it is a hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars that these guys, maybe not hundreds of billions, but lots of billions that are going on and get changing hands. Like it's ridiculous how rich the UFC is.
The one negative I would say about the UFC is their stars don't last long.
Yeah.
Because you get beat. Because it's like you said, one punch can end you. Anytime you get in that octagon, it could be over for you.
I would
So
say
that's
there's been a few guys like you gotta give Randy Couture some nod. Like that guy was still
sure.
a champion at 44 years of age. I think he held 2 belts at one time.
Liddell was still fighting in his
Liddell was pretty
30s.
good. Liddell fizzled out once he got knocked out by Couture, and then but another one that was kind of had some longevity was the Canadian kid, GSP.
Yeah, GSP
George
was good.
St. Pierre.
Yeah, that was the kid with the real bad cauliflower ear.
Yeah, like he was a spider monkey. Good Canadian kid.
Yeah.
I don't
Jeez,
like
that was
French
almost
Canadians.
a
though.
decade ago
I
now,
know.
right? Jeez, that's crazy.
What's
long
weird
time.
is anything before or after 2000 to me feels like could have been within a year to 10 years ago.
Yeah. But it
Like
was
the last
24
years
it seems like it was.
have felt like 5.
Yeah, I agree.
That's weird. That's like how nostalgia works, I guess. But and then there was Ronda Rousey, right? Remember that was a big flash in the
Oh,
pan
yeah.
for a year and a half.
She got
Holly
her.
Holm, right?
Oh yeah, just
Holly.
absolutely kicked her in the back of the head and folded her up like a Coleman tent.
Who was the chick that just got ousted from Disney? There used to be a show called Fight. Was it Fight Club or Fight Girls? And it was like this house. They did
It was
with
the
guys
house.
first.
Oh, yes. I know you're talking about it. She was on that show, and she was like she was pretty much.
It was the chick that was in Deadpool,
She was
and
the
then-
a-hole of the show, pretty much.
And then she was in the Mandalorian. She just got ousted because she said some comments that were like right wing or something like that. But she was.
Freedom of speech is gone.
I used to have a crush on her too. She's very mom like now.
What's her name?
is her name? Oh my gosh. What other movies was she in?
She was in the most popular was Deadpool. Well, Deadpool 2. Deadpool 2. She played the one of the antagonists there. She was real strong. Dark hair.
What is her name? Angel. She played Angel Dust. Gina
something, yeah.
Gina Carano, something like that.
Yep.
How did she get canceled? She had an offensive post on social media.
Yeah, we don't have to go into that. We're gonna keep politics
Oh
out of it.
yeah. Let's not go into that one.
But I just
What's
remember
her name?
Gina Carano.
Yeah. Carano. Interesting. Yeah.
But she was.
Yeah, you can't touch that topic nowadays.
What? How do you spell it? Last name?
Carano. Yeah, not bad. What were we on MMA wise?
I think Corey wanted to talk about songs.
I just wanted, so I guess merging into it's funny because all of us just, if you were in here looking at us right now, all of us kind of dove into our research and forgot that we were on the air. We're just like hanging out, like unfortunately how people do in real life now, where people are sitting around the dinner table and everybody's looking at their phone. No, I just thought it'd be cool to do fight songs, and maybe we can look these up as we go. I've thought about mine a couple different times, and it's changed over the years because I used to think it would be a good idea, and this I think was a fantasy in the first place because it was the thought process was that I would be so tough and so unstoppable. Like if that was the mentality, if I could live in the full fantasy of having a fight song, why would I even need one? Right. It would be that I was going to be a champion, right? And so the thought process was it would be funny to like walk up to like "Fly Me to the Moon" by Frank Sinatra. And everybody's like, "What the heck is this guy like?" And I'll just have a smile on my face, and then to get in there and just womp womp, like. So I thought they were cool. But as I got older, I thought that
we were like, oh, sorry, narcolepsy got me there. Sorry about that.
But
you have the worst stories ever. We're gonna start calling you Terrible Story Corey.
It's Cool Story Corey because that's the irony of it is it's not that cool.
Hi, this is my friend Terrible Story Corey.
I have a disease, and it's not a real one, but it's I just unload everything that's in my brain at once, and sometimes it's okay, and sometimes it's dumb.
Well, I actually had a fight song, and we play it here when we open up the show every morning. Pat Benatar, "Hit Me With Your Best Shot." So every time when I was in my hometown, Moose Jaw, playing for the Warriors, I played there for 2 years in the Western Hockey League. Every time I got in a fight at home, they put "Hit Me With Your Best Shot" on. So I kind of have had a fight song. But I think that if I was to do a boxing match, and Cam Jansen and I are always talking about doing a boxing match for like Guns and Hoses or something crazy.
That'd be awesome.
I'm not sure I want to be a part of that, but
everybody says giant gloves.
Everybody says it's a great idea, so I guess we'll see. But
let's sell tickets.
I would say that I'm probably the Eminem song.
I'm Not Afraid.
No.
Till I Collapse.
No.
I'm the Real Slim Shady.
No.
Which
the
one?
song that movie was about.
Let's keep guessing so it'll make him mad.
The movie.
Kim.
The movie was about.
8 Mile?
Yeah.
Is that 8 Mile?
8
Mile. The movie. What's the song
Where he's
called?
like, I got vomit on my sweater already.
Mom Spaghetti.
Yeah.
Tyson.
What's that song called?
Is it called 8 Mile? What is that song
I don't
called?
know.
Is it Till I Collapse?
Look it up.
I thought it was Till I Collapse.
How do you guys not know what that song's called?
I don't know. Reed, there's 3 of us in the room, and it seems like all 3 of us don't know. so we all suck equally.
No, it's not hit. That's it's sitting on the tip of my tongue.
It's the 8 Mile theme song. I know what you're saying. It's like Lose Yourself.
Lose yourself.
Lose yourself. It is Lose Yourself.
Oh, I'm the least sucky of the 3 sucks.
Lose yourself. Like that.
In the moment, you own it.
In that song, you're walking down the alley. You got your hood over your head.
Let's play a snippet of it real quick so we can get onto it. But yeah, I agree with that. That's good. Yeah, find a clean one.
Let me see if I
We're
can
on
get a
AM
clean
radio.
And we've got the dump button ready.
It'll rain king once more.
That's not it. Hold on.
And then I've got mine. We'll queue up after this. But yeah, I like this song as a fight song. I think that was
great song.
That was on one of the recent video games.
It was. And Eminem actually
Punch-Out.
has a spaghetti restaurant in Detroit.
really?
Yeah.
That's
in
great.
Detroit, you can get
Is it called
spaghetti.
Mom's Spaghetti?
It is. Mom's Spaghetti, and you can get spaghetti to go. It's like in a Chinese takeout box and everything.
Kudos to him.
I love it.
fantastic.
Yes, that's my fight song. That song gets me going. I love that show too. That was a great movie. So
My actual fight song, if we could check this one out too, would be Wyclef Jean's version of Staying Alive. Iconic one.
This is what you wanted to walk out to, really?
Yeah, I thought it'd be funny because can you imagine going in
That
and
would be
then
pretty
winning
funny.
a match to that? But the Wyclef Jean Staying Alive, to me, especially that one hook where it's like the second hook in or something is amazing, and I think this would be a cool song to walk up to.
Say the second hook.
Where it's like,
see
you
if
can
I
tell
get it.
by the way I use my walk, I'm a ladies' man, no time to talk. Use it well, use it right.
I just don't like. There's nobody that comes like you have to have music that pumps you up. Now it's like
This will. Have you heard this one?
I'm dangling
That's
that.
not
I'm
bad.
dang-
That's
yeah.
not bad. That's pretty good. That's
And
pretty
but you gotta like walk to the stage.
I'm walking cool.
with that double step.
Yeah, I'm
like
walking
that
cool.
Prime time into
I'll
the
do
end
the old
zone.
sea walk like Snoop Dogg, but from the old videos. I'll just sea walk the whole way down.
That's funny.
Like, this cat just crip walk to the ring, and then I lose. I got a cool song. I always like when people get hyped up. Joe, what's yours? Are you queuing it up?
I'm trying to cue it up. I don't know if it's a clean version. It's Biggie Smalls. What's beef?
Okay.
My favorite line in it is he goes, "What's beef? Beef is when your mom's not safe in the streets.
Yeah.
Beef is when I see you, guaranteed to be in ICU." I feel like that'd be a cool little threat to come out to.
That was the chair,
That was
everybody.
like the chair.
It just broke on me.
I think that'd be a pretty dope song to come out to.
ICU, for those who don't know, stands for Intensive Care Unit.
Would that not be a good way? It's a nice little threat when you walking out on the stage. You know, I thought that'd be a cool little,
I like
little
it.
intro.
That's nice. The guy's got songs about ICU coming down the ring. You're like, bring it on, son.
Yeah.
Bring it on.
Yeah, I'll see you there because I'll bring you flowers.
Right? I see. Yeah. Oh, that could backfire. I didn't think about that.
Yeah,
That's true.
that's fine.
Well, I just didn't want
Anything
to
can backfire when you're in a fight for your life.
I didn't want to do the Deontay Wilder and
What?
walk out with a whole bunch of black heroes behind me and then get knocked out by Tyson Fury. So,
I'll walk in with
the
like,
worst boxing event ever. On Black History Month too. Like, what are you doing, guy? What are you doing?
Mayweather walked out, or what's the no? Yeah, Mayweather walked out with Bieber
He did one time.
and
Yeah.
still won.
Beebs.
That's
pretty
where the
good.
Biebs got
That's
some
pretty
street
good.
cred. That's a Canadian
Biebs.
boy too. You like him?
Oh yeah. He used to be annoying, but he's got
grew up a little
he's been through some hard times, so he's been broken a little bit. I appreciate his love.
Yeah, he looks like he hangs outside of a 7-Eleven.
does.
He's got more money than all of us, and he looks like he's drinking 40s out of a brown bag. Like, shave your face, bro, until you can grow a real one.
It's got to connect.
If you're over the age of 30 and you still have a ludicrous beard, then that's a signature for a reason. Like, let's fill it out or shave it off. You look like trash. Biebs is coming after me. He listens to this AM station. Wouldn't that be ironic? Like I get a blue check mark message from Biebs.
Blue check mark.
Never again will you talk about me that way.
Oh yeah, he gets trounced.
All right, so for our segments on that, we want to talk a little about this. We're going to take a quick commercial break here in a second, and when we come back, we want to talk a little bit about getting back into the dad mode and just talking about growing up disciplines, the difference in disciplines, and why we may or may not think that it's made our society weak. So we'll be right back here on Punchline. Our text line is
1-855-282-8255.
Then we're back. You guys remember that skit with Jimmy Fallon where he was doing the obnoxious radio host on SNL, and he would do like all the voices, and he'd be like, "Oh, it's the man in the can. What's the man in the can got to say?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm the man in the can." There was nobody ever on the show, and then every time he'd come back from commercial break, he'd be like, "Yeah, we're back," and it was like really just obnoxious, like a shock jock from the '90s.
Who is this?
Jimmy Fallon.
I didn't hear that. It was entertaining watching you do it though.
Thanks. It was SNL during the time you were busy doing cool kid stuff, playing hockey, like in the real world. And I was just in high school.
Cool kid stuff.
I was being a high school kid.
Hey, what you were talking about facial hair earlier, and I'm drawing a blank. But he's a SNL guy. But was best friends with David Spade, and he played in the movie Joe Dirt.
And he's growing all white trashy like
and
that.
he's like, does your facial hair grow white trashy like that?
Yeah,
That was
Bieber's
Dennis
look.
Miller.
Yeah.
That was the when he had him in there, and he was just listening to him. He's like, I cannot believe how perfectly white trash your facial hair grows.
Do you do that on purpose, or does it grow in all white trashy like that? That I forgot just now until you mentioned that whole movie was a narrative. It was narrated during a radio show. He was the janitor at the radio
Yeah,
station.
you're
And
right.
they called him in. That's where that movie came
Dennis
from.
Miller.
Yeah.
Dennis Miller was the guy that he was that he
Underrated movie.
and they were everybody was listening to this and like hanging on there. He had lost his parents and big poop ball
yeah, I
dropped
was
this guy.
thinking
Like,
it
is
was a
that that really what happens? Is
No, I
that what
thought
they,
it was
is that what
a
the
missile.
airport does?
It was a missile.
Just
Just drops
airplanes, they just drop big, large balls of crap in the middle of a field in Idaho.
I'm almost sure that's not real.
right? He dipped his fries in it with the ketchup.
Oh God, that's hilarious.
Slept with his sister. Yeah, that was a crazy movie.
It's the greatest movie ever. Kid Rock's in it. He's like in his Trans Am with the T-tops.
Oh, they're making new
Dog gets
Trans
froze
Ams.
on the Porsche.
Yeah.
On the porch. Yeah, oh my God, that's such a great.
That's how
movie.
they meet.
Yeah,
He
that's
helped-
how they meet.
He helped Brandy's dog get his balls unstuck from the porch with a spatula.
Brandy.
Or she came out with a spatula. And he's like,
Sheila.
no!
I love you, Joe Dirt. I've always loved you.
My buddy's a big Presley fan, and I always thought she looked like she should be in that role.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of her. Huge fan of her.
You are? You into it?
I had a big crush on her. I might have watched the show just because her.
Yeah. There were some movies I definitely watched because of the ladies back in the day.
For sure.
There we go again. We're all reminiscing. Everybody's on their thing.
Oh yeah, we got a radio show.
We're
Let's
just
stop.
dead
We
air
got to
for
fill the airtime, guys.
Dead air for 3 minutes while we all fantasize about our childhood crush. My first crush was actually Shaka Khan, and I don't know how in depth it was.
Where do you
That's
come up with this
interesting.
stuff?
Where'd you see
Like,
Shaka Khan
how
first,
do-
right?
How is your first crush Shaka Khan?
Because I walked in, so my family tells a story. I was too young to meet, so maybe it's not my first crush. I walked in, and I apparently did a double take at the television. And I go, she's beautiful. And my grandmother used to love to tell the story, and it was Shaka Khan. Shaka Khan. So my first
one.
actual
It's a good
crush.
one.
My first actual childhood crush was Alyssa Milano.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I'm going to show my
Charm.
age. You might not even know this
Raquel
person.
Welch.
Oh, come
Right?
on now. Come on. Heather Thomas.
I don't know that person.
I don't know that person.
I'm
either.
gonna look
I
her
have to
up.
look that up.
He-
Yeah.
We're all looking it up.
Heather Thomas, I think she was married to or dated for a long time the drummer from Motley Crue,
Motley Crue.
Tommy Lee.
That dude, he's been through it.
She's a.
Oh, I get it.
some
She looks like
mojo.
her type. Let me see a better picture because this is
She was in.
Yeah,
she,
you need the.
this is
oh,
her now.
You know the big posters? We used to have those posters of her.
Yeah,
just,
I had a Kathy Ireland and
Yeah, yeah.
Tyra Banks one.
She's Kathy Ireland's era.
She looks like the type. Was she?
Look up vintage Heather Thomas.
Was she
Oh, yeah,
in,
for sure.
Was she
Like-
in that black and white one there? Was she? She
saying
looks
a
like a
pink
Charlie's
swimsuit
Angel.
is
What's the name
ridiculous.
chick from Charlie's Angels?
think she was a Charlie's Angel.
No, but she looks like her.
I know who you're talking about. The
Not
blonde
Heather
hair.
Lockley or what was Charlie Angels? That was before her time.
It's a great one.
I'm showing my age by not knowing.
Lucy Liu is my favorite. Right
That's
there.
the new one. That's the reboot.
I'm.
Lucy Liu's my favorite Charlie's Angel.
What's the blonde? What's the blonde? Who's the blonde?
That's
in
what
the
I'm trying
new
to think of. It's not Heather
Yeah.
Locklear. It was before that. We all act like we don't have devices here. I mean, look at this. Charlie's Angels.
Well, we all can't look it up because then we're gonna have dead
one? Yeah,
silence.
exactly.
Charlie's Angels.
It's a
Yeah,
prank.
Joe, that's your job.
That's what I'm looking it up right now. It's outside of my
We'll talk about
demographic.
something else.
Yeah. Childhood crushes, though. So we're gonna find this out while we're looking for this because I can't remember who. any of these people
What
are.
is?
They all had very feathered hair. There was only one blonde back then.
Y'all know Cheryl Ladd.
And then
Cheryl Ladd. It's the only blonde I see.
yeah, that's her.
Yeah.
But then you
Yeah.
can't go childhood crush and not go little Pam Anderson. Like
I can't.
Pam Anderson back in the day when she was
Yeah,
the
she
British
was-
Columbia Lions cheerleader. She's a Canadian girl from Western Canada.
Yeah.
And she was
Ah,
a cheerleader
I didn't know that.
and actually a Labatt's girl, like a cheerleading girl. And that's where she first got.
She was the first Heidi on Home Improvement too.
Yeah.
And then she got the job on Baywatch and left
Yeah.
Home Improvement.
Yeah.
I've never been attracted to blondes. Period.
I'm trying
No
to
matter
think
how
myself.
great they are, never liked blondes.
I've had blondes in my life.
I think I've only ever dated like two, and that was when I was a kid, and it was like, I don't know. Well,
Does that really count? Does that really count as a kid?
I don't mean a
What do you-
kid.
My
Kid.
first
okay.
girlfriend was blonde.
When I say kid, anything under 30 to me is a kid. Your first girlfriend was blonde.
I actually.
My first kiss was dirty blonde.
She was dirty and
Right,
dirty
right,
blonde.
right. I was like, wait, you put a little pause in between that dirty
You're
and
like,
blonde.
dirty.
Well, because I thought about
Yeah,
that,
dirty
and
blood.
I remember calling her on three-way. Oh, that's me. I don't want to talk about it because when I broke up with her, it was on three-way phone call because we're still on landlines.
That's not
Who were
that
you on
bad.
three-way with?
That's not that bad.
My
It
buddy
could be
Olu.
worse.
So
My
you
buddy
had to have
Olu.
your buddy on there?
Everybody put me up to it. It was peer pressure. They're like, break up. They also put me up to the first kiss. So we were all there was a big group outside of school. I was at Drury Elementary, and my buddy Tim was going to kiss his girlfriend at the time, Rolanda. I'm putting everybody on blast, Tim. And then I was going to kiss Dee. And we went out there, and there was a big circle of people. And I remember being like, I'm just going to walk up and do this because I was real brave. Yeah, right. In 6th grade. So I walk up, I give her a peck on the mouth, and I immediately walk away as fast as I can without running because I was so embarrassed and nervous. And I remember calling her that night and being like, so, how'd you like that kiss? like it was really
I don't
something.
really remember it.
Yeah,
it was
like
quick.
it was really something. She was like, it was great. And then we would go to the mall and stuff. That was fun being a kid.
I remember, like, you guys, you have no idea, and there's a lot of kids out there that aren't gonna. But like, there was a time that we didn't have a call waiting. And there was a time when you had your phone, and if you were on, somebody was on it, it just rang busy. So my sister would be on the phone for 2 hours
you had to
talking to
clear
her
it.
friend, and I'm like, "Get off the phone! I'm waiting for a phone call."
Yeah.
And then finally they brought call waiting, so you could click on and to bring it up, and then you'd click the punch button and the circle-y dealy there, whatever, the rotary phone or whatever they call it. And that's
There's
how it
a little
was.
trigger on it usually,
Yeah.
like when
Yeah.
you hang up.
Yep, you could just
I
click
still
it,
remember
they'd be on
non-call
the other
waiting.
line. But I remember the days of
Dial-up internet.
I was
going
gonna say, yeah, get off the phone so I can get on the internet.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely
Like,
remember that.
Now we've got these devices that
I had
don't
to
leave
wait
our
until
side.
a certain time to get on, and it was funny because like I was of the age where like me
Text
and our
after
friends, we
7.
could have called each other, but instead we're like, hey, let's all get on the Nickelodeon chat room when we get home. And this is like in high school. We were too old to be in that chat room back then.
What's your AIM screen name? Okay, you need that.
I got
What's
asked
your
that in
AIM
a
name?
job interview one time, or a project management interview kind of thing. We were working together, and they were just kind of a funsy question. They're like, "What was your AIM screen name?" And I had to think
business.
long and hard. And I was very nervous because I was like, "Oh my gosh, am I old enough now to where this is a new hip thing that I don't know about?" Not realizing it was so retro that I had forgotten about it. Mine was Jack Frost. Jack Frost 45.
You were speaking earlier in the show about disciplining.
Yeah.
That was a big thing for me back in the days. Like, if I was to get into trouble, I couldn't use the phone. So I couldn't communicate with my friends unless we were at school.
Yeah.
And those were the most grueling moments of life. Like, I'd just be sitting home going, I can't talk to my friends. This sucks. Especially when I got a little bit
Because it
older.
means the world then.
Yeah, because when I got a little bit older and my oldest sister was out of the house, as soon as she graduated from high school, she went over to France and was a nanny over there for a year. And so, like, I had pretty much free reign. My other sister
Or
was
in
never
France,
home.
as it's called, an au pair.
Au pair. Au pair.
Speaking of discipline, that's pretty crazy. It's kind of different. I know growing up when I got disciplined, it was you can't go outside. You got to stay in the house all day. Or you're going to have to clean up before you can go outside.
That was the thing, too.
Now it's
not going outside.
Yeah, now it's not a thing, right?
Kids don't want to go outside.
They can't get off their video games.
The new punishment is go outside.
No, take your video games away and go outside.
Yeah. And it was survival of the fittest, too, because we didn't
They
have
get outside,
supervision.
stand on the porch, they're like,
What do we do?
Right.
Yeah. They're posting pictures
Used
on
to
the
drink
porch.
out the hose just so I wouldn't go inside. Right? I don't want to go
exactly.
inside.
Yeah, because once you go inside, sometimes you'd have to stay.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you didn't want to stay. And there was no supervision either. We used to spend so many hours riding our bikes and going into the creeks. And when I think about it, like how far I actually could have traveled in a 10-hour period
Yes.
during the summer.
Yeah.
I mean, I could have.
there wasn't a
Miles.
worry in the world.
Yeah, no.
Wasn't a worry in the world.
Yeah, there's a lot
My
less.
mom always used to say,
Dumb
don't worry,
people
if
because
somebody
of it.
comes and gets and takes you, they'll bring you back.
Right.
Yeah. My uncle lost me at the Lake of the Ozarks one time.
That's awesome.
That's
You
young-
almost could have been, what's the David Spade story?
Yeah. No, it kind of was because it was on the main strip, and I remember that I was younger than second grade. I was little, and I went to the Tourist Information Center, and I was like, I remembered where the place was we were staying, and I told them that, and somehow we got a hold of my grandmother and great aunt, and they came and picked me up, and then my uncle was like in panic because I guess their whole thing was they weren't going to let him know that they found me when they went to pick him up, so he was there by himself and thinking he's about to get in huge trouble, and he did, but
That's going to be
him and I got in a lot of trouble as kids, mainly him, because he was the bad influence. He was only
adult?
9 years older than me, and he would have to babysit me. There was times where, we got in some trouble, man. But that was back before it was a different time, obviously.
About to
Right?
say,
So
yeah,
we were doing
yeah.
multiple things that were more fun, and the biggest trouble we ever got was lighting fireworks off in people's mailboxes. And
Nice, yeah.
as a parent and an adult now, I wouldn't do it. Well, no, come on. I was 4.
gonna say,
I was
that's
walking
light.
out with a bunch of high school kids, and this was their idea.
I say that's light. Yeah, that's light.
Yeah, so some guy answers the door with his shotgun in his hand, and he says, "You guys come in here while I call the police." And my uncle picks me up like a football and
I would've
runs
ran.
as fast as he could. And the dude shoots up in the air, and we were hiding in these bushes. And we get back, and somehow, I guess we probably just dumped our guts to where we were and who we were and all that stuff. So the cops were at the house. We got in huge trouble. My grandparents got home. I mean, there was some fiascos, man. He used to try and embarrass me by and this is a pretty good prank. This is a harmless one. I asked him for Pepsi one time, and I remember he poured club soda and black olive juice into a cup.
Oh,
And I was thirsty. And I chugged it, and it was probably one of the most disgusting
you didn't
things.
even notice until because you're just chugging it.
Oh, yeah, that and oh
That's
man,
funny.
my buddy Jake. One time we were coming in from playing basketball, and I was, just really parched. And he's like, "There's water bottles in the mini fridge," and I went over and grabbed this bottle of Aquafina, and proceeded to chug it. It was Grey Goose, and that was a rough chug. Gives me a little. Just thinking about it.
Yeah, just thinking about it. Yeah. You probably get that smell sometimes and just that watery mouth real
Chugging
quick.
vodka. Doesn't everybody do that?
Yeah. After basketball, I will have a cigarette too.
They used to
good
smoke
old
in
days.
hockey after
What
the
is it?
first
I know,
period. They
that's what
just
we're
light darts up right in the dressing room.
We were talking about that
That's
from the
insane.
from the
Can you
replacements
imagine
too.
that? I
And then
can't
going right
imagine
back out
having a
there?
cigarette in the middle of the first period.
I can't imagine. It's gotten to the point now where like it was a little bit, because we were of age, so it was a little bit odd when they stopped letting smoking happen in bars. But I remember like in my mid-20s when people would be from out of state or something, they're like, "Man, you guys still smoke in bars here?" And now in 2024, I look at it as like, man, I might see 10 people in an entire month smoking cigarettes. You never see people smoking cigarettes anymore. It used to be everybody all the time.
That's true.
Yeah, very few smokers out there.
Yeah.
When was the last time you were on a plane and they had the ashtray?
Yeah, no,
in the armrest?
It's been a long time.
Right.
Been a long
Well, I don't
time.
even see a lot of vapors anymore either. That's another thing that I haven't
do.
seen a lot of. Remember when
see a
everybody
lot
and
of
their
vapors.
moms,
See a lot of vapors.
you guys hang out
Well,
with the younger crowd.
what I don't see now is those people that used to walk around with a giant block
Oh,
and they'd
yeah.
blow an absolute, looks
Yeah.
like a car just did a
Exactly.
burnout, you know what I mean? What I see, and especially with the younger generation, and I got a 21-year-old and a 19-year-old, so, but they've got just those little ones,
The
and they
little
hold them in
darts?
their hand, and
Yeah.
you can't even tell they're doing anything. Like
They look
that.
like USB chargers.
Almost, yeah.
Little UFOs, miniature UFOs.
Yeah. So discipline wise, the one thing that I think, this is an opinion, I don't really talk to a lot of parents nowadays. I had my oldest son so young that it was a much different thing. I was really the only one in my friend group with a child, outside of like one other guy. And I don't remember there being I don't remember there being a lot of people talking about spanking. Now, when my oldest son was there, we talked about it. Now there's so many people that are adamantly against it. And my theory has changed over the years because I always looked at it as like, you're not consistently spanking. It's not like you have to spank all the time, every day, 5 times a day. You spank 3 or 4 good times, and then the rest of it is really just raising an eyebrow and asking if the kid wants to go to the bathroom or not. Because I didn't get whooped up on consistently. I got whooped up on enough times to realize I didn't like it. And I think there's a difference between like people who do it consistently, and I figured this out too along the way. It doesn't matter what the discipline is, it's the follow through. Whether it's timeout or other things, there's so many parents that I see bargaining and arguing with their children about like, come on, Billy, if you one more time, this is your last warning. Please don't do that. I'm going to have to. No, man, they don't respect you because the things you've said in the past haven't been followed through. So even if your punishment is no cereal next week and the kid doesn't even eat cereal, if you provide cereal during that week time, that kid picks up on it. Like the intuition that kids have and the way they can read you. Until I really got dove into fatherhood, head first, I didn't realize that. And I'm seeing the mimicry, right? The mimicry. How I handle myself is how my kids handle themselves in that aspect, especially Tyson, since he's with me during the week. And it's like, I notice his frustration went from temper tantrums to doing what I do, where he just breathes real hard, grits his jaw, does this, and he balls up his little tiny fist. And then I think to myself, I was like, what are you going to do, you little 8-year-old?
Yeah.
But I'm like, oh my gosh, he learned that from me. So we've started trying to change the way we communicate, and I've changed the way I communicate, especially, within the last like probably 6 months to a year, about being calm and talking to this calmly, because otherwise that's like hitting a kid for hitting.
Yeah. It's kind of a little bit backwards for me. I only remember. I'm sure I got a couple little spankings when I was real young, under the age of 5, for being a donkey. But I only remember my dad giving it to me one time, and I was chirping my mom, and their room was here, and my room was right around it, and I didn't think my dad was in there, and I was really giving it to her, and he came around and gave me a left hand across the shoulder blade, and I had a handprint for a few days. And he just looked at me. He's like, "Don't ever talk to your mother like that." And so I didn't have that moment. And after that, it was like that. And so I when I started having kids, that was just natural. Like, you give spankings. Hey, we have rules. This is it. I went through a time in my life where, during COVID, that things got pretty rough for me, and I got in a fairly dark hole, and I was just a little bit of a lunatic and got real loud just with everybody, including my kids. And
you're trapped inside of one spot.
As I've kind of come out of that, it's kind of given me a different understanding. When I started to learn how to have unconditional love for myself, it was easier to have it for my kids and everybody else around me. And so today, it's a little bit different. We sit and talk, and I'm like, listen, what are you doing, Ollie? I give him more respect, and I give him the understanding of having a conversation with me. And I always tell my kids and anybody else around me, the word sorry. It's an action, right? People say the word sorry to pacify themselves so that they don't have to actually change the behavior. They just get to use the word sorry across it. And I tell my kids all the time, listen, if you're sorry, you'll show me. You don't have to tell me. Yeah. And so that's the one thing that I really try and
He's saying sorry. For those at home who aren't Canadians, SORRY.
Yeah. I had a teacher in high school that used to say all the time, if you were sorry, you wouldn't have done it in the first place.
Yeah. So and listen, everybody makes mistakes, but when you completely
you're sorry you got caught.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah. You're sorry it didn't go your way.
Yeah. And then if you continue to do that over and over and over again, you're not sorry. It's a pacification, so you don't have to change your behavior. I'm always like, what's the behavior? And so what the fun part about that is that the more that I discipline today, the more that I talk today, whether it's my 21-year-old who I don't have a whole lot to say over, but we have conversations and
more guidance.
Yeah, more guidance. And same with Cooper, my 19-year-old.
Let me save you from pitfalls.
Soon to be, and they're still going to do it sometimes.
Yeah.
But there's, I feel like a lot of parents, and I think sometimes it's you're either over disciplining or you're not disciplining at all nowadays. But I look at I'm a shepherd, and a shepherd has a shaft not to hit the sheep with, but no matter how many times, to grab him by the neck and pull him back and say, no, don't go over there. No, don't go over there. So I try and look at it in a little bit more of a disciplinary on how can I love them more and get them to understand and have them respect what's coming out of my mouth instead of them just shutting down because I'm just getting mad at them.
But it's the consistency too, right? Because we've talked about, and we've been around each other's kids now quite a bit to where we understand, the twins know if there's not a plan leading up to Friday, they're not going out. And one of the things that I've really unlocked that I'm sorry that it took this long to do is
so rude.
I love it. It was a learning curve, with Tyson. What I've gotten a chance to do versus with Blair, my older son, is I was still so emotionally a wreck myself with my older son. Didn't know my own traumas. Hadn't really attacked my inner child on my own, and didn't know that was there. And with Tyson, it's almost like I get to retroactively go unpack my childhood trauma because that dude and the Blair Bear was the same way at some point when he was real young. They're mimics of you. But I mean, watching Tyson, man, is like people in my family or that have known me since a childhood. That's identical. I prayed for patience often, and I got my opportunity to be patient. And I've learned so much about myself through having these conversations, handling the situations more calmly, because I was still a really big hothead when he was real little. There was one time where he was in the back seat, and he was like, "Dad, you can't talk to me that way." And Blair was in the front seat, and he turns around and he's like, "Dude, you have no idea how easy you have
Connor
it."
gives it to Ollie all the time. He's like, "You guys have it so easy. This is bull crap."
Yeah.
I just get absolutely
makes you wonder how bad we were, right? Because they talk about it like they grew up during the Industrial Revolution and had to go work to provide for the household. It's like, you guys didn't have it that bad either, bud.
I tell them all the time, you didn't do anything. You don't even do dishes still to this day. I make the twins do the dishes all the time. Ollie's like, "You I'm like your slave. I'm like, yeah, you're gonna do the dishes. That's what's gonna happen, buddy.
That's besides procreation.
no idea.
The reason that people ever had children was to do work.
Yeah, I'm like, while you get everything you want, you don't have to. You want for nothing. Yeah, you can do the dishes when I'm done cooking for your ass.
I always call Tyson HR huffing stuff instead of puffing stuff because I'm like, hey, can you do this real quick? And it's always like, I'm like, dude, whoa, calm down. I'm asking you to bring the trash can up from the curb. You got to walk 30 feet, 30 yards.
I tell them all the time, I'm like, how come I don't act like that when you ask me to do something?
Mm-hmm.
When you ask me for another 20 or you want to go to the movies or you need an extra ride or none of the other parents can do it and I change what I'm doing so that I can make sure I can accommodate you and your friends. I don't see me huffing and puffing and being a donkey.
No.
Shut
and I'm
your
still
face
a sucker
and get
too.
to work.
I'm still pouring drinks and making sandwiches for these boys. But I do that more now because of how fast Blair did grow up and how much time I did miss in that parental arena. It's more like I know that all these things that are semi-nuisance or that sometimes I feel put out by my own children are all going to go away at some point. And at some point, there's not going to be Legos on my floor, and there's not going to be Nerf darts in the kitchen sink when I'm trying to, clean stuff out. And I'm going to miss that stuff. So I'm a little more lenient when it comes to that stuff now too, because it was different. And another thing too is I think we've been conditioned as parents to be more helicopter. Like no one supervised us. Like we were talking about, just a few moments ago. It was literal 10 hours outside without supervision of where we at, where we going, and what we're doing. And now I'm nervous to let my son be outside too long just in the neighborhood because of the people.
I was never inside. Unless it was raining out, and I didn't like standing in the rain all the time. Sometimes I would.
Even summer rain.
Yeah, sometimes that was
I'm
fun.
out there.
Yeah.
Winter rain, I'm inside.
You guys have no idea what winter's like. What I grew up in.
Yeah.
We it was dark from 10 a.m. in December from 10 a.m. till 3.
Jeez, just dark.
It was light that time and it was dark the rest of the time.
Yeah.
So we would go to school in the dark and we would get off in the dark.
Oh my goodness.
It's and cold, minus 50 degrees, like just the dumbest thing ever.
Was it uphill both ways to school?
Uphill both ways, and shoes were on backwards on the opposite feet.
Yeah. They weren't even shoes, just sandals.
They were sandals. They were hand me down from Jesus.
And all of us had to carry a sack of rocks to school to help build the pathways. No, but the winter thing is real. That's a real thing that and things are different here now too. We got about a minute before we wrap up.
We don't have winters anymore.
We don't have winters anymore. When I was growing up, we had some good snows here in St.
days.
Louis still.
We have winter days.
You grew up with the blizzard, right? In the what was that, 80,
I don't know, bro.
89?
Well, then maybe.
I think it was 80. There was a blizzard in the late 80s.
Bad
I think I was in
it was
Branson.
It was
though,
over
at the
20
time.
inches.
Because I lived in
Wow.
Branson for a period, and I lived in Tennessee. When we lived in Branson, one of the most magical outdoorsy moments I had was this trail we had cut into a path in the woods, and there was we got it
was 82. Sorry.
Oh yeah, it was before my birth.
Yeah.
But
Was it really?
I was born in '83. I'll be 41 this year. That's old enough. You're not much older than me. We always joke about it, but you're only 6 years older than me.
76. You're 83. 7.
I'm not good at math. I guess it's 7.
Carry the 1.
Carry the 1.
Nobody cares about your story. Just stop it.
Me or you?
You.
I thought you were talking to yourself.
No. It's talking to you.
Well, I'm so upset by that comment that I'm going to end the show for the day.
Perfect.
Another good one in the books, boys. I love this. So much fun getting text messages from friends and people that are listening. So tell your friends, tune in on Saturday mornings and listen to the show about nothing.
Yeah, it's the Seinfeld of AM radio.
Lots of fun stuff to chat about. And again, I don't know if we ever check the text line or if nobody likes us, but
we'll get it pumping.
We'll get that thing hauling.
We'll see you next week, everybody.
Yes.
Thanks for tuning in to Punchline.